Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, we're going to be talking about Multani's daughter, Muldrotha. Just by the way, a little story tidbit here. The Weatherlight was in trouble. Slimefoot used his spore magical things to call Muldrotha, and she saved the Weatherlight, wrecked a bunch of zombies. Anyway, like I feel she's going to wreck a bunch of tables, but the advantage to her is that you get pseudo card draw, or pseudo, however, kinda card draw without drawing. You can play up to one permanent of each type from your yard, so you get to use those guys or those things that you've already used once. Now, I didn't use a single walker. I just didn't. It didn't fit for me personally, and I know there's a lot better versions of this out there. Some people are building it super competitive. Y'all know me. That ain't me. I wanted a value. So let's look first at. Let's go artifacts. The mana rocks that I used, I tried to use ones that you could all sacrifice. Mind stones, so that you can sacrifice them for some effect and play them again later. Like the clue stones, you can draw cards and you can play them back from your graveyard if you have nothing else. I don't think that it's going to be a problem having stuff in the graveyard. We got the Hedron and the Commander Sphere. She is 3 colors. Of course, clue stones. The Sphere. Now, Wayfarer's Bauble is one that I just absolutely love. I typically don't run it in decks that produce green, simply because we have, a lot of land search options in green. But in your other colors, I run it a little more, y'all have noticed, because, red ain't got a whole bunch of land ramp. But Wayfarer's Bauble and XP map. Now, we've got Universal Solvent. Now, Universal Solvent is not outstanding. However, destroy target permanent for 8 mana. When it's reusable, it's not bad. I mean, it's not terrible. Late game, you're going to have a ton of mana. And the ability to just, if you've got enough to keep popping this thing off every single turn, is a beautiful thing. It's not really a major game plan, but it's there if we need it. Now, Jester's Cap, I've got this in there because it's funny. Jester's Cap, when it came out in Ice Age, we were all so convinced it was so powerful that they were going to restrict it in Type 2, which is now Standard. Back then we had restricted list in Standard, but I think it's funny because it's in this deck. It is reusable. Yeah, we may not. There are probably better targets for us to get back. Executioner's Capsule, for example. Let me get this in a little closer. It's really good card, card advantage is pretty much the name of the game here. Ratchet Bomb, I'm using Ratchet Bomb. You're not really locked in, you can blow it up. Oh, crap, I chose, to add too many counters and now he's under it and blah, 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 blah. I'll just do it again. Turmoil's Crypt gets to their graveyard. Larry Nevin's Disc. Here again, really good when it do it a bunch. Now, Grinning Totem is kind of a different animal, too. You do get to search their deck. I like it when it's reusable. See, I tried to take more of a fun approach than a super competitive approach. Let's look at some creatures now. Y'all remember that time I said fun approach? Veteran Explorer, that's it. Yeah, everybody at the table ramps, but you know what? There is certain decks that will get an advantage off everybody doing this, but in general, it does speed up the game. this format is known for long games, and sometimes people get bored. I know I have certainly sat there, and you can always tell when the phones start coming out. When everybody's phones start coming out and they're playing some kind of phone game, you know the game needs to progress. It needs to get a little more interesting, or it needs to get faster. And Veteran Explorer facilitates that, especially when you can do it a bunch. Secure Tribe Elder is going to get us some land. If you'll notice, a lot of these creatures are, sacrifice themselves, or they put themselves into the yard some way so that we can reuse them again. I tried not to rely on outside sacrifice outlets, because that's you throw down a Ashnod's altar or a Phyrexian altar and something. I mean, people cap it and you're like, well, I now have, dudes. Embodiment of Spring. I run across this guy by sheer accident. Wow. I mean, yeah, it's a rampant growth on a blue dude. Okay, I'll take it. Let's see if we have any more mana guys. I think we have the Elves of Deep Shadow. And by the way, Jesper Murfors, this is one of the greatest arts. Now, keep in mind, this was in the dark. This was 1994. This was a day and time before all of the current. I mean, it was 24 years ago. The art was probably done 25 years ago, before the technologies that they have today. This is outstanding art. It almost looks like a filtered photograph. I love it. And, it's decent card. Got Deathrite Shaman. I mean, we might as well play her in EDH because she ain't got a home anywhere else, right? Joiner Adept. Joiner Adept's just in there to fix mana. That's it. No real. As is the Urborg Elf. I don't think the Urborg Elf gets a lot of love. Granted, it is super specific. Now let's get into creatures that we want to get back. Spore Frog, you had to see it coming. It's just a beautiful thing if you just want to. Now, another aspect that I just now thought of is creatures with flash. Or all your creatures have flash, some kind of enchantment or creature thing that gives all your creatures flash, because this would be cool. Sure enough would. Noble Benefactor, here again, speed the game up. Yes, I get a tutor. Everybody gets a tutor. Tutors for you, tutors for you. Somebody needs to alter this with Oprah. Crypt Rats. Not an obvious include, I think, but it's a good way to wipe the board, do some damage over and over again. Now, playing with the Gitrog, because reasons. I mean, he's really, wow. I can get a second land. And yeah, it's really good. Fleshbag Marauder is going to put itself into the graveyard most of the time. And then you can just keep fleshbagging every turn if that's what you want to choose with your once a turn. Now, the thing about Muldrotha is her once a turn deal. You can only do one artifact or one creature or one enchantment every turn. But you've got to, once you've done it, well, you've pretty well done it. Now, Deadeye Navigator, you pair it with Muldrotha, you blink Muldrotha, and it's a new permanent. You get those abilities again. So you can play another artifact, another creature, another enchantment. So I definitely wanted to go that route. Plus, we got some just good old-fashioned graveyard things. Prized Amalgam, I like. Tasigur. Shield. Tasigur may not make the final cut if I don't know, the whole delve thing just but he does feed your, I don't know, he might. Shieldred, because why not? You're going to get a dude back. I mean, you're already going to have creatures being put into the graveyard, and this just punishes your opponents for it, making them do it. Now, Bone Shredder, 187 creature, one of the original 187 creatures that you just, if you leave it alone, it'll put itself in the graveyard. Of course, as will Muldrotha and Shriekmaw, the pair of evoke guys that everybody loves. Now, Glenlendra, Archmage here, repeatable counterspell. Now, granted, it costs 5 to do it every turn. But still. I mean, well, not really. She's got persist anyway, so. Let me try to back this thing up. We're getting closer and closer as the cards stack up to the camera here. What do we? Burnished Heart. You want to talk about some ramp? Let's go. Viridian Zealot. He's our naturalized variant, I guess. Acidic Slime is just in there for value. I mean, there's no. I mean, he pops something. He's got Death Touch, so there's a good chance he's going to pop 2 things. Once when he enters, and once when he goes to or blocks. And here again, if you had Flash, that would be sweet. Vampire Hexmage, gonna all counters from target permanent. Now, obviously, this was printed. We all thought about it. It's a Planeswalker killer. But +1 counters are a huge thing. And, I mean, charge counters and everything else. So, it's a good reusable, especially if you happen to be going up against, tracks of Super Friends. Hexmage is a beating waiting to happen. And, if they kill any of your dudes, so as long as they don't exile them, we don't care. Hermit Druid, just, we're going to fill up a graveyard. Let's look at some enchantments now. Try to use things like Seal of Removal instead of Unsummon, Seal of Doom, because them being enchantments and going to the yard, obviously reusable. Now, Mystic Remora was one of the first cards that I thought, it's like, well, I'd just... the first thing you think of is, I won't pay the upkeep. Well, you pay the upkeep the first time because it's just 1. And then you let it die. You cast it back again. Whatevs. Hesitation. This is the last spell you play for your turn. And then you pass the turn. And then you're like, okay. And if it... Either way, Hesitation is beautiful. And it didn't get a lot of respect for years because people were like, there's 2 schools of thought. 1, I just won't play anything. Yeah. Or 2, I'll just run out something and counter it and get through it and go on. Yeah. When it's reusable and they can't really plan to abuse it like that, man, it's pretty sweet. Pernicious Deed, another enchantment worth doing over and over again. The Mending of Dominaria. Now, this has got all the bells and whistles. It puts cards in your graveyard, and then it's going to do your lands back. So, my last enchantment does not put itself in the graveyard. It is Zur's Weirding. And Zur's Weirding is a fun card at a table full of people who are, I don't know, it doesn't really matter if you're super competitive or super friendly or whatever. Zur's Weirding is fun. There's no secrets anymore. And you know what? They can pay the 2 life all they want to dump your cards in your graveyard because you're just going to play them from your graveyard. And the political factor of Zur's Weirding, I like to play it when somebody else is in the super far lead, and that way the table, it almost becomes arch enemy at that point. The table's like, they're never drawing another card. And a lot of times, your opponents will take care of problems for you at the expense of paying their own life. This is super win-win. Let's look at other cards here. We got some just good old-fashioned utility here in Negate, Putrefy. Now, Harrow, that we're sacking land to get 2 lands, and then we can play that land as our land for the turn. That's pretty sweet. Same way with Crop Rotation. Of course, we do have the basics like Naturalize, Rampant Growth. Now, my tutor that I chose, what? One to the hand, one to the graveyard. So it's like 2 cards to my hand. Now, Constant Mist. Granted, Constant Mist and Spore Frog together gonna probably create some problems, but it does synergize well with the Get Rock. And our last card, of course, when you absolutely positively have to get cards in graveyards, you traumatize yourself. I've always loved Traumatize. And I love decks where you can traumatize yourself and get a benefit out of it. Kind of neat. Well, that is what I've got for my little fun Muldrotha. I do appreciate y'all watching. As always, this deck list is up out on Tapped Out. Let me know what you think. But right now, I think we're going to shuffle and cut.